Hey guys, one more on a video on the Inside Spurs Channel. Happy Thursday afternoon to you all. Hope you're all okay. Hope you're all right and you're having a belter of a day. In this video, we are going to be talking about Mathys. We're going to be talking about the situation leading into the summer transfer window, the buy option. Will it be taken up? Will it not be taken up? Will they negotiate on that? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Ola Aina as well from Nottingham Forest, a player that's out of contract this summer. And the interest in him. We're going to be talking a little bit about another conversation around, is Ange going to be here summer? Is Ange gone? And all that nonsense that comes out of that, as well as Pedro Porro interest. So quite a full-on video today. So we're going to jump in and get in there. Good morning to you all, or afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. Let's start with Mathys, the guy who is an interesting loan spell because he joined off of the back of not really playing very much at Bayern Munich. You know, they were focusing more on, obviously Elise's emergence as, a world-class player, actually. It is massive to see. You've still got Musiala, who, barring Harry Kane, may be their best player. You've still got Leroy Sané, Kingsley Coman, Serge Gnabry. So there's been a lot of options there. And Mathys kind of felt in a weird way like the odd man out. Now, joined Spurs, but he isn't a Vincent Kompany kind of guy. Vincent Kompany's not too keen on Mathys, so they're going to want to move off of Mathys this summer. We have a buy option for about 50 million, okay? Right. We've all got the backstory, haven't we? Let's jump in. Because it came from Kicker, who, this is through Google Translate, so bear with me. And it says, Mathys' future no longer seems to lie in Munich. The Frenchman, the loan deal for the Frenchman to Tottenham Hotspur in the winter scored a 50 million euro purchase option. However, the London club will not pay that amount. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich hopes there is an agreement that can be reached with Spurs, although this will be well below the previously agreed option. So 50 sort of million euros, let's call it 45 million pounds, okay? I'm not surprised Spurs want to come to the table and have a little chat about this deal. Obviously, Spurs spent a lot on the loan deal as it is. So, Bayern would have been making crazy money on this player. So it doesn't shock me that Spurs, to get him in the door, did a bit of a higher loan fee, which isn't uncommon, by the way, in world of football, before someone gets annoyed about it. If we're talking 45 million pounds, I'm interested to know what you guys think is a fair valuation. So don't go, I think 10 million, because he's obviously going to be worth way more than 10 million. I look at it as, compare it to Kulusevski, okay? No, not the player. Their deals. Spurs obviously signed Kulusevski, 18 months after we actually got him, because we had a loan deal, we had a buy option, and all those things. And I think the deal ended up, Juventus came to the table and worked with us on the deal, and we got it a little bit cheaper than we previously thought. Now, with this deal, I need a haircut. I've noticed this now. I really need a haircut, But on this deal, I'm not surprised Spurs are coming to the table to want to negotiate. It's not shocking to me that Bayern Munich are also happy to come to the table. I think Mathys is starting to settle at Spurs. He's settling in London. You've got to think, he's a Frenchman who's been playing in Germany, now coming over to England, off of the back, not really playing for Bayern Munich. I don't think anyone should have expected him to rock up and take the league by storm. It was extremely unlikely, and it's not very realistic for him. I think what we've been seeing of him sort of the last couple of weeks, and really since the international breaks, he had a good international break with the French under-21s, is there is a player here. That's kind of my thinking. There is a player here. And I kind of think 10 million was about 10 million-ish on the loan deal. I'm thinking if it's 45 million pounds is the buy option, roughly, depending on the day of the exchange rate. 35 million would probably get the deal done, I think, is the way I'm thinking. You're knocking off 10 million. Bayern at the end of the day probably could still get good money for him if he didn't go to Spurs. But I think they also recognise it's probably an easier deal just to deal with Spurs, get the deal done. Everyone's happy as Larry. I think 35 million probably is about where this deal might become. Now, it might be like a 30 million plus 5 million in add-ons or bonuses, maybe of Shaw. Um, there is that. Now, the other thing I would like to say is because we are sitting here April 24th, and in a week's time, we play against Bodo Glimt on the 1st of May in the first leg, and obviously playing the 8th of May as the second leg. There's still, about a month left of the season in total. I think we play in about a month's time in the last game of the season versus Brighton. So because of that, I would say hold your horses, wait and see what you've got in the summer with Mathys Tel, because he might absolutely stink up the gaff for the next month, and we go, we're gonna if we're taking him on, we got to knock down that price even more. I think I'd want Spurs to pay more money because he's done so well. If we're thinking about knocking it down, he has a really great few weeks. It's probably going to make his valuation go up. Well, that in that case, it's not a bad thing because he's playing well. And I think with a preseason, and depending on what the manager situation is, with a preseason, it would be great. Now, the other thing on the manager side of things, which we're going to come to in just a second, if the new manager and his style of football does not suit and accommodate Mathys Tel, then we need to say he's going back to Bayern Munich and we're not picking up the buy option. As much as you may love Tel, you may hate Tel, I love Tel or I hate Tel, it's really, unfortunately, sadly to say, extremely irrelevant what we all think. Because if the new manager comes in and goes, oh, I love Mathys Tel, what a player he's going to be for me, we'll go get him. If the new manager comes in and goes, I don't know if I'm really going to use him enough, then don't sign him. It's no point. It's, you back the manager and what it's going to be. And if it's Ange, it feels like Ange is a very big, supporter of Mathys Tel, then yeah, he would be signed. The next manager, if it's not Ange this summer, we have to wait and see what he thinks of him. And that's another key thing on all this. It's a key thing on all these players. He's going to want time to have a look at these players. And that's the only issue of bringing in a new manager. As much as it's exciting and you go, ooh, new manager, it's also you're pushing back your summer transfer window by multiple weeks because you have to bring in a new manager who is probably going to have a little bit of a different style of play. Therefore, he's going to be looking at different players. He's going to want to know what he's got in the players that he's already got in the squad. Whereas Ange, let's say hypothetically he was here, would go, I don't want these four, those two, and those two. You would know. You'd be able to activate in the summer transfer market as soon as the season's done. But if you have to get a new manager, all the time that you're having to move to look for a new manager, do interviews, do all those things, you're going to slow yourself down. So there is that. Now, we've still got a little while left of this season. I'm not, like I said to you, I'm not thinking about, players being here next season or managers being here next season because we've been told there is a review coming at the end of the season across the board. There is medical staff. Scott Munn's position is obviously is under scrutiny right now. The medical team, the data, the sports data science, and all those things, all those teams, as well as not only the coaching staff, the playing staff. All of the things are going to be having a review. That's why it's nice to have a conversation, but it's hard to have a real conversation until we've reached the summer and we know where we're at. Because, like I said, if it's not Ange and he's not here, but the new manager really doesn't like Tel, then why would we sign him? So there is that. Moving a little bit on, because I want to talk about where is it? Where's Pedro Porro? Pedro Porro. Here we go. I'll talk about the manager next, and then Ola Aina. Because TBR Football saying that Spurs would consider selling defender Pedro Porro for the right price in the summer. Now, he's got 11 goal contributions in 46 games, which, hey, that's not too shabby. Now, key thing before you sit there and go, why would we sell Porro or get rid of him now? For the right price means Daniel Levy is whacked on a really big transfer value on him. And therefore, cashing in on him is going to cost a team an absolute bloody fortune to get him. You got to think it cost us, about 37 to 40 million pounds to sign him. So that's the floor. 40 million will be the floor on how much he gets sold for. It will be above that. What happens with Trent, I think, is super interesting. Obviously, He was about to sign the deal with Real Madrid and it was done, but now it's gone super quiet. Is there a situation where could he stay at Liverpool? I don't think it was guaranteed he was leaving. He could still move on. So if he wasn't to go to Real Madrid, then yeah, Real Madrid would be in the market for a right back. Carvajal, big injury to his ACL. Lucas Vasquez kind of looks like he's on his last legs as a top flight footballer. They haven't really got anyone else. So I'm thinking they're probably going to want to go in for the market at right back. Pedro Porro being a Spanish international, it does make quite a bit of sense. Now, with Pedro, I should probably know how long he's got left on his contract, because that would have helped me a lot. Hang on a second. Pedro Porro's contract till the summer of 28. So he's going to have 5 years left on his contract. Yeah, I mean, if we were to cash in on old Pedro, it's going to cost the team an absolute fortune. I think he's a good right back. I think, through times this season, you've seen some real quality. I think at times you've seen what happens to players when half the squad is out injured and they're playing 3 times a week, 90 minutes a week. I think performance levels dip. So I think with Pedro, look, if we bought him for 40, what would be a fair price? Now, I know some people go, sell him for 10 because I hate him. Ugh. And you're like, okay, you don't understand the transfer market, not a problem. We'll move on from you. If the floor is 40, like I said, if you've bought him for something like that, the floor will be that, especially with 3 years left on his contract. I would say Spurs. I mean, Kyle Walker was sold for 50 how long ago? You're looking at 50 and above, in my opinion. So if you do that, then the other thing you have to look at is, okay, right, you're selling Porro. And let's say you sell Romero, by the way. Let's have that. Let's put it out there. Worst case scenario, you sell Porro, you sell Romero. You've sold Richie and Bassoum. I'm not saying this is the worst case, but I'm just saying in terms of the most extreme case, you sell Bassoum, you sell Richie, Werner's gone, Forster leaves, Reguilon goes, maybe Ben Davies leaves. You still got Radu Dragic out to the winter. Maybe you don't keep Mathys Tel, right? It's a lot of players leaving that squad there and then, and there might even be more to go. But what I'm saying is a lot of players leaving the squad there and then. You're not going to have all of those players move on, by the way. Spurs already this summer need to get a fullback. They need to get a fullback. You might look at Spence as more of a left back, and that's fine. That means you have to go and buy a right back. You might look at Spence as a right back, therefore you have to go and buy a left back, one of which has to fit. And for once, for the first time in years, we're going to sign a fullback, hopefully, because we are, competency-wise, pathetic this year. That isn't on Ange. Ange isn't signing the players. The higher-ups failed this manager on not buying a fullback. Yeah, it's fine. We're going to rock into the season of 3 fullbacks. Okay, that's worked out brilliantly, by the way. Yeah. I'm pretty sure at one point I was the backup fullback to start the next game. Okay. And knowing my hamstrings, they would have gone within seconds and Ange still would have been blamed, even though my hamstrings are awful. We need to sign a fullback this summer, regardless of manager. I don't care if it's Ange, it's you, it's me, it's my dog, it's the hamster down the road, or it's your mate up the road. We need to sign a fullback this summer without fail. If you move on from Pedro Porro, you need to sign 2. You need to sign a left back and a right back in that regard. Now, I still look at Jed Spence as more of a right back personally, just that's what he naturally is. I would then be looking at a left back with Destiny Doggy, which obviously might come into the chat around Ola Aina. We'll talk about him in just a second. But they need to do that this summer. And if Pedro goes and Romero goes and, you make 140 million on the 2 of them, great. I'd want all of that 140 million put back into the defense with a left back, with a right back, with at least a centre back. I would then want also then to start reinvesting into other areas of the team with the club's money, with that sale money as well. If you sell those 2 players, you should expect to spend way above 200 million. Now, we'll probably spend about 141 million and they'll talk about how they put money into the club and it's $1 million, but that's neither here nor there. That's a joke. Don't cry about it. Moving a little bit on, let's talk about this again. It's every day. Oh, Ange to go. Ange is likely to leave. Ange is on his last legs. Ange this, Ange that. And it's so unbelievably boring. There is a review coming in. I'll say it final. Final. I'm not even Romano. I'm not Ornstein. I'm not Alistair Gold. I'm none of these people. Okay. I know nothing. I just offer you my opinion. You sit there and you watch me for some reason. Don't know why. Thank you, by the way. I do appreciate it. There is an end of season review across every department. You've got Vinay coming in. He's going to make some changes, no doubt. We know that. Ange, we know if he doesn't probably win the Europa League, he's definitely gone. If he wins the Europa League, it's a conversation that no doubt will be had within the club. And before you say anything, I want Ange gone, I want Ange here. It's nothing to do with that. I'm just giving what's going to happen. But David Ornstein believes that the writing is on the wall for Ange Postecoglou, who's likely to leave Tottenham in the summer. Even winning the Europa League is no longer guaranteed that the manager will keep his job heading into the 25-26 season. Now, before I give you his quotes, I did say he probably wants to end the season on a high. Now, if he wins the Europa League, he can walk out of this job and say, all those big-time managers they brought in, I won something they didn't. I want a Europa League. I want a European title. How many managers can you say have done that for Spurs? He would then still be favorably viewed in world football and he'd still get a good job. I'm not shocked by that. But he also could leave it on a high and go, look, it's a really toxic club at the moment. We've won a Europa League. I said I'd win something in my second year because I always do. I backed up my factual information. I backed it up. I think it's a good time to separate. Then there's also that. His quotes say, a number of us have been reporting for quite some weeks now that Postecoglou is increasingly likely to part in the summer and Tottenham make changes in the dugout. It's been reinforced by reports that from Matt Law and Mike Keegan. And, the writing does appear to be on the wall as a result of a disastrous season domestically by Tottenham standards. Key thing, disastrous domestically. They still hope to win the Europa League, which would be absolutely massive, not just in terms of a trophy, but qualification for the Champions League. Those reports point out that he could retain his job if the trophy is lifted. That said, it doesn't guarantee it, and he may go regardless. I think, judging by his comments in a number of news conferences, he probably knows what's coming. Yeah, I would probably say he may know what's coming, and I think it would probably say Daniel Levy would be a correct man, ironically, to say, look, if you want to leave, totally get it. Because obviously at the same time, he has a decision to make in it. Because he might go, look, Daniel, I'm gonna go. And Daniel might be like, actually, I want to keep you. There's also that, right? But if he says, look, I think it's probably best we do kind of part, I would hope Daniel Levy hooks him up to say thank you for winning a trophy. Bear in mind, Daniel, he and Juan de Ramos will be the only two that's won a trophy under your stewardship. I would say, let me give you a few quid on the back as you're leaving. We'll mutually part, but I'll pretend to fire you so I give you a little bit of a payout because you deserve it. That's what I would hope as common decency. You build goodwill through things. I know they want to hold on to every penny possible and twerk over a room full of gold coins. Gold's gone up recently, apparently, all-time high. But at the same time, building goodwill through these sort of actions through the media will actually attract more managers because they go, actually, the club isn't a toxic place. They look after their managers and things like that. And also then players see that as well. I can join a club without the idea that they're going to change a manager 2 months into the season and ruin my time and ruin my development. Because that's the other thing. As much as we sit here and go, fire Ange, fire Ange, fire Ange, fire Ange, fire Ange every 3 seconds a day. Because if you're on Twitter, there's a lot of losers on there who on a Tuesday when Spurs don't play for 2 weeks, fire Ange. It's like, there's a review at the end of the season. Stop farming engagement for your own back pocket. Stop benefiting and profiting off of negativity and things like that. Live in the real world. We know there's a review coming into the season, hence why I'm all about supporting the club. It's not about Ange. It's not even about the players. I'm supporting the club because I want to win a trophy. Okay? That's all. That is all it's about now. Ange out, Ange in, players out, Levy in, Levy out. Irrelevant. You sport Tottenham. That's what matters now. Now, at the end of the season, you get those opinions fired out again. Hey, I don't like Levy. I don't like Ange. I don't like this thing. But whilst we play football, you support the club. For those 90 minutes, it's supporting the club, not calling Ange fat or, Posta no clue and all the insults that you come out with. Not all of you, obviously. I'm just talking about a small minority, a loud minority of the fan base. You don't have to love Ange. You don't have to hate. Don't have to love Ange. You don't have to. You don't have to even hate him. You don't have to love Levy, hate Levy, or anything like that. You can be Levy out still and still support the club. And I think that's what a lot of even the Levy outers are still like. There's some Levy outers that just hate the club anyway because I think they look at it as tarnished by Daniel Levy or the players or Ange even. But there's Levy outers that will still support the club 100%, and that's what it's all about. It's just supporting the club because. Tell you what, if we win the Europa League this year, that's huge. The monkey's off the back now. We haven't won a trophy for nearly 2 decades. Well, you've won one now, and you won a big one. You won a European trophy. That's off your back. You got Champions League football next year. You can buy better players. You can spend more money on wages. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Your revenue's going to go up even further. Because I tell you what, it really makes a massive difference, So there you go. So it's an interesting one, really, coming into the summer with that regards things. But I will be really honest. I am so bored. I can't stress enough. So bored about hearing Ange might be done in the summer. Ange might be gone in the summer. Well, how about we wait till the bloody summer then, shall we? Because nobody knows. Not one of these people know. They're just saying, look, it's increasingly likely. Well, if it went from 1% to 2%, that's increased in likeliness, has it not? So it's really irrelevant, and none of these people truly, truly know. We're on the eve. We're in a week's eve. A week today is the next biggest game of the season. The second leg will become even bigger potentially. Now, if you win the first leg 10-0, then hey, you probably go to Norway and kick your feet up. But that's extremely unlikely, like ridiculously unlikely. Don't be a betting man and put your money on that. I really hate this stupid negativity, this stupid articles coming out when in a week's time it's a humongous game in a week's time. We should be gearing up to Liverpool on Sunday. We should be gearing up to Bodo Glimt on Thursday night. But instead, is Ange going to be here? Is Ange not going to be here? Well, we've got a review at the end of the season, and they've already been told Ange is here until the end of the season. So how about we just get on with it, knuckle down, spread some positivity, and see what happens? Because you know what? I'd rather be much more positive, regardless if I like Ange or not. I want to be positive because the season could still be a very good one. And people laugh at that, and you go, won the Europa League. Teams who are right now 7th might get Conference League or Europa League. Well, we won the Europa League with Champions League, therefore we've had a better season. If you finish 10th but win the Conference League, I think you've had a better season than the team finishing in a Europa League spot because you won a trophy to get in there as well. So that's why I'm saying it can still be a very good season. Domestically, yes, not good enough. I think there's a lot of factors that go into that, though. Ange is at fault. Medical team's at fault. Levy and the board are at fault. Some of the players are even at fault. I'll say that. But what I would say is winning the Europa League is humongous. Humongous for this club. Can't put into words how big it could be. I'm just saying, you could even say, I don't know, who finishes 4th this season? You win the Europa League, you won a trophy. Now, Newcastle might go, well, we won the Carabao Cup and we got Champions League through league position. You might go, all right, hands up. You might just outdo us, to be honest. You might just outdo us. But a team that finishes 5th this season for the extra spot in the Champions League, you could say, well, Spurs won a trophy, won a European trophy to get into the Champions League as well. That's why it could still be massive. Right, move on to Ola Aina because this is the last thing I want to talk about today. Obviously, you don't know who Ola Aina is, by the way. He's the fullback at Nottingham Forest. Now, he didn't play Monday night against Spurs. It was Nico Williams, who Mathys was having a lot of success against. But Nico Williams doesn't feel like a full-on right back, if I'm honest. But Court Offside saying that Spurs are lining up a transfer move for the the Nottingham Forest defender Ola Aina in the summer. His contract expires at the end of the summer, which means he could be available on a free transfer. I really like Ola Aina. I really, really like him. I think he's a super talented player. Just want to double check his age. 28. Okay. If I bring up his transfer profile, he's 28. He is younger than me. I still forget that he's actually younger than me. So if I say he's old, that means I'm old. So he's not old. He's so young. He's the youngest man in the world. Yeah, he's born October 8th. So a little bit into the next season, he turns 29. I think he's good enough I mean, especially on a free transfer, I think for 3 to 4 years, I think you've got a good enough player there. Absolutely. I really, really do. If you add him to the group of, Porro, Spence, and Destiny, I like it. I would probably say him into left back maybe would be the move. But yeah, I don't know if I see it though. I just got a weird one. I've got a weird one. I don't know if I see it. I just feel like a Liverpool might be interested. Just got a weird vibe that Liverpool might be interested. City, I don't think City would do it. He feels more like a Liverpool guy. Yeah, I mean, the fact he plays left back and right back, I think is massive. By the way, I think it really is massive. Yeah, apparently Spanish publications are saying that Liverpool are massively interested in him. I think that's mostly their way of trying to push Trent out the door to Madrid and then Aina to come back in. I think that's maybe what they're trying to do. Spanish publications, they're not idiots. They know what they're doing. They're smart. They get told, hey, we need you to push X, Y, and Z. They go and push that thing to the moon. But he does kind of feel like a Liverpool player. I think, Liverpool need to look at their fullback situation this summer. I feel like, Conor Bradley, decent. I wouldn't want him to be my starting right back. I feel like left back, you got Robbo, but, he is getting a bit older. Not really a big fan of Shimikas. So Aina could definitely get minutes there. Would Chelsea go back in from maybe at left back with Cucurella there? Don't know. Don't think City would. Arsenal shouldn't need it because Arsenal have got 3,000 defenders. Villa, it depends. Villa have been trying to get rid of Digne for a little while, so it depends on him. Aina is an upgrade on Matty Cash. They've been a bit of concert, right? So Villa could come in for him, absolutely. He might even stay at Forest. You never know, obviously, on that side of things. I think there's a lot of teams that could be interested in him. Man United wouldn't surprise me either. He's a good, solid Premier League player for sure. Good defensively. Obviously, when you're playing in a Forest team, you've got to be good defensively. You don't play in a team defensively like they are if you don't have defense. And the fact he plays both wing back positions, you think Jed Spence does as well. It gives you a little bit of flexibility when you also factor in Spurs get 300 injuries a day. Your fullbacks that can play both sides is massive because if one's injured, well, you still got the other one. And there's that. So look, I would like to be in for Ola Aina. I think it's a cheaper deal. Now it's not a cheap deal because he's going to be out of contract. The signing on fee would be extremely large because he can demand that because you're not having to pay a fee to Nottingham Forest. The wages would be higher than normal because again, you're getting him on a free transfer. But no, I think with the reports surrounding Liverpool snooping around him, it doesn't shock me. If he's 28, you can have him until he's 31, 32 and him be really solid still. That wouldn't shock me. Again, Prim proven. He's played in Serie A for Torino. 40 games for Nigeria. Again, that's nothing to sniff at. It wouldn't shock me. But we'll sort of see on Ola Aina because I do like him. Again, if he doesn't suit the next manager, depending on if it's Ange or if it's someone different, then this is a super irrelevant conversation. And if Porro is the next manager or Ange's favourite player in the squad, that's a super irrelevant conversation that we'd cash in on him, unless the fee would be outlandish, which it wouldn't be. So again, it's nice to talk about these transfers on surface level, but if you dig just a few centimeters beneath the surface, you do realize there's a lot of things that still need to happen for this to change. And again, if you win the Europa League and you get Champions League football, you will attract different players because players will go, it's London, Premier League, we're a great stadium, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we've got Champions League football. Okay, I'm interested. But also players are probably looking at Spurs right now going, oh, there's a lot of things that need to happen this summer. Will Ange be there or not? Oh, I don't know. And that's the thing. If you fall 2 or 3 weeks behind your competitors, you're going to be picking up scraps sometimes from other teams or who they wanted. So there's that as well. But we have to wait and see. Long way to go for the rest of this season. Tomorrow we'll be doing the preview for Liverpool at the weekend, which I think is going to be a really interesting one with, are they going to go for it? Are they going to rest? What are they going to do? We're going to do that tomorrow and talk about that tomorrow when it comes. But thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Go enjoy the rest of your afternoons, your evenings, your afternoons, your mornings, wherever you are in the world. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Peace.